multiculturalism. I'm not a multiculturalist. And the reason I'm not a multiculturalist is because multiculturalism has been used to attack the black agenda. The reason they want African Americans to pay attention to everybody else's issues instead of their own is a way to detract from ours. We didn't get the Civil Rights Bill being multicultural. We got the Civil Rights Bill by advocating for discrimination against African Americans. That's not to say you can't have collaborations with organizations representing other cultures. Nothing wrong with that. But you need to make sure you're sticking to your agenda because everyone does. Okay, the Jewish community sticks to their agenda. Latino community sticks to their agenda. Arab, Asian, East Indian, they stick to their agenda. And African Americans have this issue of always wanting to include everyone else. And in the end, you get what you got with the Civil Rights Bill, a situation where everyone else benefits more from something your ancestors died for.
That's why when you hear somebody say Black Lives Matter, people say, no, all lives matter.
And what does that do? When you say all lives matter, it takes attention off the fact that police are selectively exterminating African American males. All lives do matter. But we're talking about the black ones that tend to get overlooked. Whenever a black boy is murdered by the police, the first thing they say on the news is, well, you know, he stole a soda, or he was in juvenile incarceration 5 years ago. He was suspended 50 times. Does that justify the life being taken?
Absolutely not.
You see, so because I'm unapologetically African and I don't push the multiculturalism, that becomes an issue. Another issue, obviously, is the LBGT issue. Okay.
Yeah, you said some interesting things about homosexuality.
But here's my thing.
You said, how can you prepare for war with white supremacy when you want to have sex with the white man?
True. But here's the thing. But hear me on this. I want to clarify this, though, Ivy. Let me clarify this.
No, you got all the time you need.
Because I don't hate nobody. You understand? And as a therapist, I do therapy with homosexual males all the time. And for a lot of them, one of the precipitating issues that led to the homosexuality was childhood molestation by an adult when they were still a child. So I have an empathy for that. So I'm not going to go around ridiculing somebody because they gay or lesbian or bisexual, because I know there's issues in their childhood that help bring that about. But at the same time, I reserve the right to say, I don't think this is in the best interest of my community. I don't hate you, but I'm not going to support it because I don't see the long-term benefit of practicing this type of behavior.
Do you think people can be born gay?
No, I don't. And there's no conclusive evidence to that point.
Wow, you know, a lot of gay people say they were born that way. They said that, you're saying
a lot of murderers say they were born murderers. A lot of pedophiles say they were born pedophiles. So if we're going to say there's a gay gene, we're going to have to open up the conversation and say that there's a pedophile gene, which means if I molest children, I shouldn't go to jail because after all, it was in my DNA.
What did I
Be
say
careful
yesterday?
about opening up one door. You got to open up all them doors.
What I said yesterday, I said if you keep acting like that, in about 15 years, people going to be like, oh, pedophilia is just something you
Well, no, hold on. Being a pedophile is illegal. Being a homosexual is not illegal.
Well, true, but guess what? When the DSM-5 came out last year, that's the Bible of diagnoses, they say they accidentally put pedophilia in as a sexual orientation. Having sex with kids accidentally was not listed in the DSM as an illness. They had to quickly fix to change that. And I think they did that on purpose because there's an organization called the North American Association for Man and Boy Love. They're trying to normalize and legalize pedophilia.
Oh, no, we got to blow them up.
It's
right
on the
now.
internet. North American Association.
That sounds crazy.
Oh, my goodness. In fact, it's already been predicted that when the next DSM comes out, pedophilia will be normal behavior.
We need to drop a
Remember,
bomb on them
homosexuality
right
was once mental illness up until 74. They changed it in 74. Some people thought homosexuality would never be considered normal in 74.
But it was never illegal.
It was never illegal. But here's the thing. Once you say something is normal, it's easy to make it legal. So if this pedophilia piece gets accepted as normal behavior,
No way.
Okay,
So
that's a step toward.
Death to all
So you don't
pedophiles.
think gay people were born gay? You think that
No,
there's
totally
a reason why they
environmental.
became gay, whether they were touched as a child,
Learned behavior, you
or
Yes.
learned behavior, really?
Yeah, most of them, not exclusively. What I find 3 major reasons for homosexuality and lesbianism. Number one, the absentee of that same-sex parent. When a boy, opposite-sex parent, no, same-sex parent. When a boy doesn't get the love of his father, that can create a thirst in him for masculine energy. No, stay with me.
I'm saying with you.
What he wants is a father. He wants that because a boy has a love affair with his dad, not sexual, but psychological.
Right.
Your dad is who makes you a man.
Right.
If that dad was not there to do that, sometimes your thirst, your desire for that parental masculine supervisory figure can lead you to hunt for it. And what is nothing more than a love or need for a father gets misunderstood and reinterpreted by popular culture as your desire to have sex with that man.
Is that why Lil Wayne called baby daddy?
Probably. You see,
Guy will throw anything left. Go ahead, man.
but you follow me on that.
Yeah, I'm following.
You see, I didn't have my father. I still need that validation from a man. When I get older, I'm looking at men and I'm craving his love.
Is that true?
Oh, this happens. You think it's homosexuality. It's not homosexuality. You just need that masculine nourishment that you never got. Same thing with the girl. She never had a mom. She's still thirsty for that. But I will say this with females. Lesbianism is often triggered, okay, by abuse, sexual, physical, and verbal by males. And a lot of teenage lesbian sisters who were not sexually assaulted end up becoming lesbian because of this growing hatred and dissatisfaction with black manhood and what it can do for them. And even for other cultures, for a growing dissatisfaction with the role that the man is playing. So for example, when I talk to the lesbian students in the schools, they'll tell me, I know I wasn't born gay. I chose this, Dr. Umar, because men ain't no damn good.
Well,
I've been raped, I've been beat, I've been abused. My daddy ain't been there. Why do I want to be with one of y'all? I'd rather be with a woman.
Well, it's the flip side, too. A lot of girls are dabbling in it now because the guys think it's cool. I think it's cool for girls.
Yeah,
to
you
do
can
that.
get turned out into it. I've seen that too. Mm-hmm. Children with low self-esteem, outsiders, they are particularly susceptible to being recruited by the lesbian and gay gangs because they're outsiders.
Well, and also because sometimes men, in order to keep a man, they're like, well, he can't just be with me, so I'm going to get down with the program, and I'm going to sleep with other women too because I know that's what he wants. He wants to have threesomes.
I see it. I hear a lot of that stuff, of women doing stuff, even
Kinda
adult
hot,
women, doing things that they man want, all this freaky-deaky 2-3 women stuff. The relationship ends, and now she feels hurt because I've done something extra that I'm ashamed about with a man I'm no longer with, you see. But the thing with women and relationships, okay, they need to come to the relationship with rules. They need to know what principles, what I'm not willing to do regardless, because if you're not married to him, he can walk away at any moment. He could do the same thing in marriage, but at least there's some semblance of a commitment. But to be doing all this sexual stuff like this, having all these escapades, he walks away. Now you know how many emails I get from women saying I done this, and now I just felt used and abused. Why did you do it? You got to take some responsibility in this. You don't go that far with a man who you ain't got no commitment from. But because of the mass incarceration of black men, so many women are so thirsty. They're like,
I feel like there's a shortage.
I
Like,
got to
they-
do this because I'm not going to have a man. And unfortunately, a lot of them were modeled inappropriate behavior by their mothers. For a lot of women, black, white, rich, poor, having a man is part of their definition of being a woman. And when having a man is part of your definition of being a woman, any man will do just so you can feel like a female.
Now, you're a psychiatrist. You know, I like everything you're saying. The homosexuality part always confuses me because I got a lot of homosexual friends, and I always say, if they tell me that they were born gay, I got no choice but to believe.
But here's the thing. You don't know what you were born. None of us do. You understand? Especially when you're dealing with psychological issues. For example, some African Americans will say, I was born hating myself because of the legacy of self-hate taught through slavery. You wasn't born that way. It was passed down into generations. For example, they'll say alcoholism is in the family. A lot of psychologists will argue this. I don't agree with that. Alcoholism is in the family, not through the DNA. But I grew up seeing my father drink. I grew up seeing my grandfather drink. It gets passed down. Materialism. You're going to tell me materialism is in your DNA? So the grandmom, was in love with expensive things. The mom was in love with expensive things. Now the daughter's in love with expensive things. So remember, again, if you open up the door and say this is in your DNA, then everything is in your DNA. And if you're a person of color, you got to be very careful about that, because the science of eugenics, which is white racism, says what? Every behavior and character flaw of African-American people was passed down through their DNA. They say we rob, we kill, we sell drugs, and we steal because of defective DNA. They claim behaviors are DNA based. Homosexuality as an act, okay? If you're going to claim that that's DNA based, then guess what? You open up the door for them to also argue, well, if homosexuality is based in the DNA, maybe selling drugs on the corner, maybe not marrying your women, maybe having 50 kids out of wedlock, maybe that's also DNA based. If you open up the door for behavior to be blamed on DNA instead of circumstantial situations, you're going to have a whole new ball game here.